What is wrong with my plant? In the 6 years I've been working with Kellogg Garden, I have probably seen this question online on a daily basis. And when we're in season, a lot more. One day you have a seemingly healthy plant and the next it takes a turn for the worst. It is frustrating. Recently I posted a video about a garden attack, something eating, chomping on my plants. But today I want to talk about plant health. When you go out and your plant is either wilting, changing color, spotted, and you have no idea what's happening. So we'll talk about 3 things. 1, what the causes could be. 2, how to investigate it. And then 3, some of the mitigation techniques you can use to either stop or correct or help the plant. So first, let's talk about causes. When a plant starts to deteriorate, what we look for is we look at sun, water, nutrients, pests, and disease. Those are the 5, okay? Sun and water are the easiest to correct in most cases. Either it's getting too much sun exposure or not enough, too much water or not enough. Now, there are times, let's say rainy seasons, where it's going to be hard to correct overwatering, right? Can't correct the weather. And with sun, we can shade a plant, right, using row cover, but if it's planted in an area where it can't be moved out of and it can't get more sun, then that might be something we can't correct. Nutrients, absolutely we can correct that, whether it needs more of your basic 3, right, potassium, nitrogen, phosphorus, or in some cases magnesium or calcium. Those are things that we can mitigate as well. Now when it comes to pests, they're a little bit more difficult, aren't they? 1, it's identifying what the pest is, and a lot of times they're soft-bodied, little microscopic looking things that are sucking the life out of your plant. So figuring that out, you'll have to do some investigation on what's happening to the plant. And then disease. Disease, that's another one where it could be soil-borne, it could be pest-borne, it could be that the plant itself came with this disease. So that's something else that we look for. So in investigating and looking at this, I'm going to show you a few plants and some problems that I'm having, and what I'm looking for and what the signs could possibly mean. All right, so let's take a closer look. Okay, here's a look in one of my garden beds, and I actually have a few problems in here. Let's first look at this Italian parsley. So you see here how I have these leaves here that are yellowing. They're really turning white. I've trimmed some back, but they were really white, right? Little wilting. So now when a plant is wilting, or you start to see, right, this right here, this discoloration, it starts to go white. Different causes. So for this plant, it could be that it's getting too much sun, right? Or it's a watering issue. Too much watering or not enough watering. Now, I know that this plant has been getting a lot of sun lately, so I really think that this is a sun issue. The watering schedule hasn't really changed for it that much. We have had a little bit of rain recently, just some misty mornings, some light showers. But on this plant, I don't think it's a watering issue. But I'm going to look at both. I'm going to watch, 1, sun exposure. So, maybe I need to cover it, or I need to move this bed. But those could be the causes for this. This plant here, and this is a tricolor sage, it has tips that are browning. Again, same issue. It could be a watering issue for this. Now, I think this one is an overwatering issue. Recently, I started using the irrigation system in here, and I popped in this guy here, which is a bubbler, and to give more water to this plant here, this is a cucumber plant. And I think by doing that, I've given way too much water to this one. And so I may have a problem with root rot. So what I need to do is really, I turn down the water on this one quite a bit, so it's not getting as much. And then what I may do is move this little drip irrigation so it's not getting drip and some of the water from that. So that's the issue with this plant. Now, when you start to see spotting, right? When you start to see that there are spots that are discoloration, that is indicative of really something taking the life out of your plants, right? Now, when you start to see this white, that's typically spider mites. If the color was silver or bronze, if they're streaky, then that could be your thrips, right? That's what, and I don't really see that. What I do see here, this guy here, that's a leaf miner. See that little trail there? So the way to deal with that is I've sprayed the underside of these leaves with some neem oil. So you can use neem oil, you could do an insecticidal soap mixed with water, and then the other thing I could do is I could also bring in some ladybugs or lady beetles. I could bring in some of the good bug predators to go after my bad bugs. Now, really, to bring in your good bugs, you need to have more. And right now I do have some aphids, but that's really what they like to eat, are those aphids. So for this, I'm just going to keep spraying. And now it doesn't always kill, so you're not going to kill these little guys right away. But you do it a few times, keep it up, and then slowly you'll start to see them leave. And really what I want to look at is this new growth. Is this guy okay here? Still doing all right. This one isn't too bad. So I think we're getting it under control, right? I think. So that's good. Now, another cause, and I don't have it, I don't have any examples of it in here, but if I saw, say, a white powdery substance on my leaves, that could be powdery mildew, right? And that's typically because of over watering from the top, right? So that's why I like to use more of a drip irrigation so I don't risk getting that powdery mildew. I was hoping, well, nobody ever hopes for problems in the garden, but another issue you might see are curled leaves inward. These are curling in just a bit. And that can be heat stress, right? That could be heat stress if it's curled in, or again, not enough water. If it starts to droop, then it's also could be heat stress and not enough water. Now, throughout the day, let's say you do your watering early in the morning, then as it goes through the day, it gets hotter in the afternoon, and you might see drooping in the afternoon. You need to wait and see once the sun goes down, is it still drooping, right? Or does it bounce back? And that will tell you if you need to water again. Now, aphids also will cause some spotting on leaves, but normally that's going to be yellow spotting. And then it could also wilt as well. You might see yellow spotting and wilting on a leaf, and that could be aphids there. Over here, and we'll go, actually I have some yellowing on one of these. So here are some starts that I have. So right here on this plant, you can see a little bit of orange, a little bit of yellowing. So this could be aphids on this little cucumber here. And I know that I found some aphids on some of my other plants. Or again, it could be spider mites. And since this is so young, I really, really want to watch this one and make sure I take care of it right away. Here's another cucumber plant, and I can see a little damage. These are sitting outside, and that's yellowing there. So again, this could be aphids rather than those spider mites. This one here, you see how this is yellowing a bit? Okay, this is a zinnia. This is probably because of too much water. Again, we've gotten some rain, intermittent. We go from hot to a little bit of rain. And so I'm thinking this guy, and you can see it, look how that soil looks, that it's getting just a bit too much water. So I'm going to probably pull it and control its water just a little bit more. This little guy's drooping a little bit, but he's fine. Right here we have some of the gourds. They're looking pretty good. This is an edible gourd. I cannot wait. It's my first time growing it. And I think it's pronounced cuckoozy. If I'm wrong, go ahead and let me know about that. Back here, I've got some ginger and some turmeric, and then I've got some sweet potatoes. And it's the sweet potatoes that are yellowing. And you see that, and that's because these guys haven't gotten enough water. So they're young. I need to watch them. And when they're in these trays, I water from the bottom. Random spoon in here. I water from the bottom. And so these guys I need to keep an eye on because they were in a different area and they haven't gotten enough water. I also brought them out here. This can be sometimes when you're hardening off or you're transplanting, right? You can have a little bit of shock, so I need to be careful. That could be that as well, but I really think this is a watering issue. These guys over here are looking pretty good. The other thing when you're doing your seedlings, over-watering, especially from the top, you'll start to see a little bit of moss on here, and that'll tell you that, yeah, you need either better airflow or you need to pull down your watering. All right, so just we're in one of my beds and looking at some of my seedlings, and you can see some of the issues that I have. I find the best remedies for pests are having really good soil, healthy soil that's going to build a strong plant. That plant will then be healthier and able to ward off some of these pests. I like to companion plant. Some things ward off pests and some things attract pests, like my nasturtium can be a nice trap plant for a pest. Sometimes I'll sacrifice a plant. For me, brassicas can be pretty difficult. Aphids love them in my garden. And if I have a brassica that is attracting most of the aphids, I may just let that plant, I'm going to sacrifice it. I'm going to let it go. So those are ways to deal with your pest problem. When we talk about disease, and I don't have any disease issues right now, I talked about powdery mildew. That's one that you'll see quite often with vegetables. You might also see blight. Blight is more of a tomato issue. So there are a few that you see often, and again, some you can contend with. Once you have blight, that's more about ripping that plant out so it doesn't spread to other plants. That would be a mitigation for that. Powdery mildew, you could have some fungal and bacterial viruses that kind of come through. Some of them you can use a fungicide. Some of them you cut away and you change your practices, like powdery mildew. You water from below, don't let those leaves get wet. So really, when you start to look at these, one, get an idea of what it could be. Two, start to investigate, go online, see what people are saying, and really what starts to work for you. I will put some resources down in the description, some articles from Kellogg Garden where you can look through, see, okay, help me identify what the problem is, and then help me figure out some solutions. Finally, on the nutrients, right now I'm doing really well. These beds are looking great. Of course, as the plants grow, as they take the nutrients out of the soil, you're going to need to add nutrients back in. You want to see lush, good growth with your plants. And then if you, again, taking notes and you're watching your plants, if you've skipped adding in some nutrients or some compost, that can be easily fixed. You know, your big three are your nitrogen, your phosphorus, and your potassium. But then there are plants that need some of those macronutrients a little bit more, like tomatoes may need more calcium or magnesium, so you don't get that end rot. So really, as you go through, one, knowing what your schedule is, and then saying, okay, you know, if the leaves on the bottom of the plant are starting to, the under leaves are starting to turn yellow, then that probably means I need more nitrogen, right? Because with nitrogen, you're going to see a very lush green plant, right? So looking through and saying, okay, first, what is the issue? And then second, what are some things that I can do? And then starting to do those things. And my final piece of advice is just to document your garden all the way through. Because in order to figure out what a problem is, you kind of have to look back and say, what have I been doing with the plant, right? So if you are taking pictures and video, and then also journaling, just knowing what you're doing and when you're doing it, that is absolutely the best way to figure out what's going wrong with the plant and fixing it quickly. Of course, if you're in your garden more often, then you're going to spot it quicker, and it is easier to fix it if you catch it in the beginning. So we will continue to talk about this, because as we get through the season, other things will pop up, and I'll show you my garden. I get hit every year by little things that come through, and sometimes I can turn it around and sometimes I can't. So I'll definitely share that with you guys. If you have any questions, please leave them in the comments below. Or if you have some advice, some things that you've gone through and that you found have worked for you. The best thing in gardening is being part of the community. You learn so much from what other people are doing. So please share that. If you liked this video, I'd appreciate if you tap that like button. That way other people find it. And I guess I'll talk to you guys again really soon. So thank you for joining me again. Happy gardening.